Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, work wife.
Hello.
Take two because our internet is terrible, but
Good luck with this. If there's any weird lags, sorry in advance.
yeah.
But
Well,
I was saying that I feel like I haven't seen you in weeks because you've just been so busy, doing cool things, and I've just been here in the cold.
but I came to the cold. I had a cold weather experience this past week.
In your Converse.
In my Converse, but they are like Gore-Tex, so they're like
Right. They were like
rain and wet proof, snow proof. They were like decent shoes for the trip, but they were not snow boots, and I was definitely walking in
the snow.
Lots of snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not lots of snow, but snow. A layer of snow.
Yeah. How was all your gallivanting around?
It was like 14 degrees, which is, I don't know what that means
Fahrenheit.
to you, but
it's cold. It's below 0 Celsius. It's cold.
Yes, below 0.
Yeah.
But it was refreshing.
The listeners want to know how Disney was with Kit.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
It was magical and exhausting.
Magical? Like question mark? Yeah.
Mark, like it was. I'm sure I'll have fond memories when I look back at the photos.
Yes.
But it was, I think, a little too ambitious of me to think that I should take her to 3 full days at 3 different parks.
By yourself.
Solo. Right. As a parent. You know?
At her age.
Like, at her age.
Yeah.
She was tired.
Yeah.
She was not walking. She didn't want to walk places.
Yeah.
So then I'm carrying her. Like, my body felt like I had been hit by a bus.
So Coco gets to go for her 6th birthday?
Yeah, right? Like, don't tell Coco. Or maybe I'll just take her for 1 day. I think 1 day is appropriate for...
Yeah. Like, I think one night, 1 day. You know what I mean? You get a night and a day. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's better.
Yeah.
Like we were sleeping in different beds. So then obviously you're sleeping away from your own bed. And so my body was already, I'm at the age where like sleeping in a different bed is like
a problem.
Not good for my back, So I was already like feeling it. And then after carrying her for multiple days, and then I just was like, do I have the flu or did I just do 3 days of Disney with my child?
Yeah.
But it was fun. She had a fun time. It's not all bad,
Yeah,
like she loved the roller coasters. She loved meeting the characters.
Yeah.
But the reality is I was exhausted.
But are we still going to go? That's the question on everyone's mind. My mind in particular. Are we still going?
Yes, we're still going.
You're like, we'll talk offline.
I will have more hands, more assistants.
Yeah.
More parental figures to help me or handle the meltdowns or just give me a little break.
If needed.
I mean, literally, I have to take her into the bathroom with me every time, like we were together every single moment.
Yes. Yeah.
I also, for those who don't want to know, just close your ears, but like I got my period while I was on this trip, and my poor 4-year-old just in the stall with me, subjected to
been there
every tampon change, and she's just looking at me like, what's happening
to you? Yeah, are you dying?
Okay? Yeah. Are you okay?
Why are you bleeding? Yeah, I have definitely been there. So that's a great experience.
That was not ideal for her or for me, but another added layer of probably why my body felt like it had been hit by a truck.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
It was great. And we will be going back in March. Yes.
Perfect. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Great.
So... And the more time that passes, it's like childbirth, like you forget all the hard parts. And
yes. You just remember
just
the good.
Think about the magic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So by then I'll be like Yes, can't
Let's do
wait.
it. Yeah. But you'll literally have like Tyler and my kids to also
I was gonna say,
distract.
I'm really counting on number one, Lila.
She's gonna
Like Lila is gonna save me with Kit, especially, I think, because they'll become little,
besties.
she'll help take care of Kit. Kit will really love it because she loves like an older sister kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And so it'll be,
I have to order Lila the matching shirt so that they can match because that'll really solidify the
yes, the
bond.
bonding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had a couple things we wanted to talk about before we dove into stories.
Okay.
Well, maybe it was just one thing.
Yeah, one thing, which like I know by the time this airs, people will be like, but like too bad we have to talk about it. So we're talking about it.
Because it's not really just about the specific incident. I think it's like just leadership,
decisions,
in
values.
general.
Yeah.
Decisions, values.
So we're talking about Kyte Baby.
Kyte Baby, which is a brand that is actually near and dear to my heart. We own Kyte Baby sleep sacks in our house.
Right.
They're the best. They're the softest. They're the longest because I have tall children. So
Right.
I keep my babies in sleep sacks as long as I can so that they don't crawl out of the cribs.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a baby company and started as a small business. I think they've grown wildly over the past 5 or so years.
Yes. Very successful e-com
business. And I don't know how many employees they have, but this person, so there's an employee who typically works in person in their office.
Yeah, she does like photo shoot organization.
Okay. Photo shoot organization.
Like operation, yeah.
So not doing the photo shoots.
No, but like all the things that go into the shoot. And then I think she would be on set for shoots.
Yes. She had a baby via adoption.
Yes.
And that baby needed NICU time.
Baby was born at 22 weeks, which
22 weeks
is
barely.
And like I'm just saying medically for that is like I think not even considered viable in some places, which is not I'm not saying that that's the truth. I'm just saying 22 weeks is very, very, very early. Like very early.
Like 25 weeks is like very early. I had a friend, 2 friends here locally who had each separately, but 27-week babies, and it was a very scary time. So 22 weeks is that's terrifying as a parent, and whether you're a biological parent or an adoptive parent. And so her request of the company was that she be able to work remotely so that she could be with her baby in the NICU.
And she did say she would travel to set when needed.
Okay, travel to set when needed for photo shoots, because obviously that's part of her job. So she's willing to make that accommodation if they are willing to make the accommodation that everything else that she does via the computer, she can do remotely so that she can be with baby.
Yeah.
And initially her request was denied, correct?
Yeah. Yes, and then she was fired for not returning to work.
The request was denied, and then she was fired.
Yeah.
For not returning to work. Because she obviously said,
"No,
I'm not coming."
I'm sorry, my child is
in the NICU.
In the NICU, life. Like fight every baby in the NICU is terrifying, but like a 22-week birth? No. You're not prying me out of that hospital for any reason. Especially not work.
I'll stay here and then I'll get another job when this is over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like if you're not going to let me do it here, this is not a question of like, I'm staying here, right?
Yes.
Like, it's more like I need to work from here. So like,
let's make this work.
If you don't like that, then my answer is, I guess I'm leaving. But she got fired, which is actually even more wild to me.
Yeah.
And then the CEO spoke out, right? Because it was like
blowing up in their faces,
obvious.
understandably. It's a baby company, my friends. It's a baby company.
Baby company.
Not that it matters what type of company it is, but I think it's just salt in the wound that it's a baby company.
I know, like, this is not okay at any company, but the fact that you're a baby company selling products to newborns and moms, you know, like,
wild.
I thought you were in this with us, you know, like, I thought you would get it, of all companies that, like. So I actually didn't see the first apology from the CEO. So obviously this blows up in the company's face, and they're trying to save face with, you know, they're trying to PR themselves out of this,
and make excuses as to why
situation.
They were in the right. It was a very script. I mean, to be fair, like, if you're saying something that important, I understand writing a script, but it, like, the video was just, she was clearly reading from a script, and like very, the tone was very like not sincere, because probably because she was nervous and reading, but still.
It was a choice to post it after recognizing.
You could have watched him in like another take. Like,
like, let's try that again.
Yeah. Once more with feeling.
More empathy this time.
Yeah.
You know, like, act like you care about the baby and the mom this time.
Yeah.
So she posted an initial one that did not go over so well, and then she got even more flack, you know, for that.
And I think also because she mentioned, like, because the baby was adopted, that, like, technically this mother didn't earn maternity leave. She didn't birth the baby. Like, I think there was like some things inferred because it was adoption as opposed to a birth. And I know it's different in the States, but in Canada, like, our maternity leave is split, like 15 weeks for physically recovering from having the child, and then 35 weeks for becoming a new parent. Those 35 weeks can be split between mom, dad. Like, so if you adopt a 7-year-old, you can take maternity leave for 35 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
Mom, dad, or any, like, whatever parental figure. So anyway.
Yeah. So as a parent, you know, it does not matter that she did not birth this baby. This is her baby.
Yeah.
Fighting for its life, you know, in the NICU. And so that is just, I assume she's a mom of this baby company.
Yeah.
And how dismissive of a statement when you're the owner of a baby company who you have no idea, like, who your clientele, like, what their parental situations are.
Yeah.
Like, so to be dismissive of an entire group of people who have babies and are parents just because those babies didn't come out of their bodies is absolutely asinine to me. Like, you didn't think that far as the CEO of a baby company? Like, what? I just, no thought seems to have gone into this. So then she got a lot of backlash on this initial video, and then does a second video apology. More sincere this time, owning some mistakes in the process, and hopefully recognizing where she went wrong and what needs to be done in the future. So how do we feel now about this CEO, you know, given the actions and how they went down? Like, what are your thoughts of, like, okay, now we have a second apology video. Where are you at with her?
Like, I feel like everyone deserves grace, and I feel like hindsight is always 2020. You can look back and see, like, even as the CEO, like, she can look back on the video and be like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, that was terrible. I should have re-recorded. But it's like, in the moment, you're so caught up in, like, the shitstorm that's happening around you.
Like,
you're trying to make this, you know, like, this is the thing, I think. I mean, I looked it up. They only have 13 employees, so it's not like it's a massive corporation, but still, like, those big companies, like, they have policies, you know, and there are some people's jobs that are just there to, like, enforce the policy. Like, we don't give maternity leave for adoptive parents, or, like, you only have 2 weeks of personal time left. And it's like, if we make an exception for you, we have to make an exception for everyone. And I think that was kind of the initial stance, is like, we're not technically doing anything wrong. You know, legally, they didn't do anything wrong. I think the reason that the public got so, it's morally, you are doing, like, you're a baby company. Like, you know? But like the more, like, morals aren't what write policy books for a lot of these companies. And I think that's the problem. It's like, where is, like, you can write whatever you want in your little laptop, but like, what in the real world, when you're faced with situations that you didn't predict, when you think when someone wrote the policy, they thought, what happens if one of our employees like has a NICU baby at 22 weeks and needs a lot of time off? Like, what are we going to do? They didn't think about that scenario. No. But then it's like, they also didn't think about it when it was happening. So I think that's like the failing here, in my opinion.
Yeah. And when you, like, the fact that you just looked up that they have 13 employees makes it almost worse for me, because if this was a larger company, I could see how this gets slipped through the cracks and the CEO doesn't know what's going on. But in one of the videos, she mentions that, like, she didn't know that this was happening. Like, she wasn't aware, because it was someone else's role, whether that's HR or their operations person, like whoever it was gave the directive of like, no, you can't have this time off. So the fact that the CEO is not even aware is like, okay, I could see how that might happen. I could definitely see how it happens in a larger company. With a team of 13, I'm like,
no, like, our team has 10 and I know like what color socks everyone's wearing.
Right. And then she also mentioned that she hadn't talked to this person even after, like, the NICU stuff, the request, and the firing. She hadn't talked to this individual. The CEO hadn't talked to this individual at all throughout this whole process. And then I guess after the backlash, she maybe did reach out to them. But I'm just like, I was giving them, I think, more benefit of the doubt when I thought they had way more employees. The fact that they have 13 employees and she did not reach out to this person to even just empathetically say, oh my gosh, are you okay? How are things going with baby? What can we do? What can we do to support you as a team? Even if we can't accommodate all of the requests, how can we support you? Should have been the first. She should have never even had to make that request of the organization. She should have been asked by someone on the team, especially like the ops person, the chief of staff, the CEO, whoever it is that's managing this. How can we support you? And the fact that this is the time as a leader that you do need to talk to your team, to connect with your team, to show empathy for your team. As CEOs, I understand that, like, not all of our time can be spent, with each individual, or like there are other things you need to do to run the company. And it's like, okay, you can't necessarily be spending all your time on one-on-ones with them all the time. But like, if there was ever a time to reach out, it's then. Like, it was in this instance. And so I'm like, to me, this CEO has some things to work out in terms of her priorities and where the growth of her company is going to come from. And it's not going to come from just pumping out more baby products, like, by yourself, it's going to come from supporting your team and having really great people. And so it's just, it's disappointing to me that she didn't have that relationship or reach out to her sooner. I hope that, like you said, hindsight is 2020 and she can see, hey, there were a lot of missteps made here. One of them being, I should have been the first person to reach out to this individual who has committed their career to my business and is having a really hard personal time right now, like going through something really scary. Like, that's that the least I could do is call them and say, how are you? What can
send them an edible arrangement, like an Uber Eats gift card, like
something, a blanket anything
for the literally baby, anything. Like, yeah, it's basically just been a clinic in what not to do.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even at a large company, I would expect some upper level management to be reaching out to someone in this type of situation. So 13 team members, yeah, I'm actually appalled.
And like for all those listening who are like, okay, but like you can literally build systems around this thing. Like when you can build like a whole
this
like
happened.
when this happens, send an email to this person. Like if this then that
Does
chart,
not take that long.
does somebody have a death in the family? Yes. What do we do? Contact their direct manager to send, like you can build like you can't like fully automate it because obviously these things need to come like personally, but you can automate the notifications so that you know like, oh my gosh, something's going on, I need to reach out to a team member. Like this is not that hard. Like this is basic human decency 101. Yeah. Now everyone's boycotting Kyte Baby.
I really like their stuff though, you know?
Well, I don't have babies, so it's not a problem for me, but
I just have one left. Like I probably need one more. Well, actually I just bought a sleep sack from a different company because I wanted to test it out and it's pretty good. So maybe I'll just go with them for the next.
And this
I
is
just need one more size up.
The like I am not a believer in cancel culture, don't get me wrong. But like I also think that CEOs who have brands, especially brands that have a social media following, like if you have a rabid fan base, like they can and will turn on you. If you if you prove that you have been misrepresenting yourself and your values, and they will use their buying power to cancel you. So
like the mamas don't play. They're like, oh, you came for one of us?
Girl, bye.
One of us? No.
You know? So I think that's just again, I'm not like a cancel culture like believer. I do think that like people like I think everyone deserves grace and like the chance, and I think that cancel culture can be really toxic and scary, but it's out there in the world and it happens, and the only power that consumers have is where they spend their money often. So
yeah, and it's also like I wonder the timing of this. Like, did the CEO really reflect on her actions and make a change because she recognized it was the right thing to do, or did she only
want to save
recognize she needed to save face because her sales were dropping and she was like, uh-oh, like they're gonna stop buying my stuff. You know, like I don't know the timeline of it, but it's hard to it's hard to know if like she really had a moral
like
epiphany
or a bank balance epiphany,
or was she scared that this was gonna like put her company under?
Because people were canceling orders or returning orders, like, you know. So it was
like, are you really sorry, or
I don't know,
sorry that your sales are tanking?
And I know this is like I know this is a woman-owned company, but like I always love when people are just shocked by women's ability to just rally together and destroy things. Like when you enrage one, you enrage all. Like today is the day after the Oscar nominations came out where like Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig did not get nominated for Barbie movie, but Ken did. And let me tell you, I don't know a single female who's happy about it, except for people who didn't like the Barbie movie. Which like the only person I can think of is Claudia Oshry from The Toast. Everyone else I know loved that movie. So
yeah, who didn't love that movie? I don't get it. But
yeah.
Unless you're like, we love the patriarchy, we don't see anything wrong. You know, like I don't.
Yeah.
You're like completely oblivious to the world we live in.
Those are the same people who love Jason Kelce being shown but hate Taylor Swift being shown. It's like, oh, you just hate women. Love that for us.
Just hate that she's a girl.
Love that for us. Like we knew, but like thanks for confirming.
Yeah, we can tell. I loved seeing both of them.
Oh my god, it was the best. I watched the whole game. I don't want to go on this.
Why I feel mad.
And she wasn't even shown enough, in my opinion. They only showed her 2 times. Yeah. Like, and listen, I don't care what anyone says. Yes, this is the first year I've started watching football because Taylor Swift's boyfriend plays football. But let me tell you,
That's right.
I have thoroughly enjoyed learning about football. Like, I am really having a great time.
You're playing fantasy football.
I'm playing fantasy football. I'm in the middle of the pack now because the Chiefs won. So we sat down to watch the whole game on Sunday night, and I asked James 1 million questions, and he looked at me and he said, I'm having the best time because I have always wanted to watch more football. And I'm so, he's like, I will answer 1 trillion more questions if it means we get to hang out and spend time together.
I didn't know that James was a football boy.
He enjoys all sports, but I'm very into like hockey, baseball. We watch a lot of curling because we're Canadian, like soccer. I've never gotten into football, but he has always loved football. But it's just like, I was like, sorry, you can't have them all. Like, we can't always have sports on. But now we can. Now we can.
It's great.
So I'm just saying, all of these people who are just so mad about women existing, like, just chill. Like,
just live.
Sorry, she makes $1 billion and is like the most famous person in the world, and her boyfriend just scored 3 touchdowns. Like, we want to see her smile, okay? Okay, anyway, tangent.
So much to ask. No,
right?
It shouldn't be.
Anyway, sorry, that was...
All right.
We just lost, I don't think we have very many men listeners. And the ones that we do have are
They already signed off when I told them about my... They signed off when I told them about my period at Disney World, so fine.
And they're also just like the good ones. They're oh god, but his name was Chad in the Barbie movie, right? The good one? What was his name?
It was like
not Ken. Not
Evan. Not Adam. It's something with an A.
Barbie guy that's not Ken. That's what the Google is. Alan.
I was like, it's something with an A. I know it. Alan.
They're all Allens. All our men listeners.
Do you have that in your memory? Like, does your memory do that where you're like, I don't know the word, but I know what it starts with?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That happens to me all the time. I'm like, I can like see.
Yeah.
I can like feel it. I know it's an A.
Yeah. All right. Do we have any stories today, or did we just have tangents?
I do. If you want to,
let's do it.
Do some.
Let's do it.
Okay. First story is, am I fired? Kind of. What do I do? So I work at a small chocolate store, and my manager called me and said she didn't have any room for me on next month's schedule and told me I would maybe be scheduled if it got busy. I asked if I could work the month after, and she said she couldn't make any promises. She released the new schedule, and I saw I was the only employee cut from the schedule. Then she removes me from the work group chat. Am I fired or no? There was no real official statement, so I'm off the schedule, not in the group chat, but maybe if it gets busier, I can work. What is going on?
Okay, so
Well, I don't have the answer, but your boss needs to communicate better.
Like, I have made schedules, like when I was a restaurant manager, and like you're dealing with all of these people who only have, like, I can work Tuesday from 12 to 1 and blah, blah, you know what I mean? And you're trying to piece together your schedule. And then I've had definitely weeks where I've gone to some people and been like, listen, your availability, like, I have to give shifts to people who have open availability, and like, you're not going to get any hours this week.
Yeah,
and they're just like, sorry, you know? And that's just like par for the course when you have like very limited availability part-time roles. But then to be like removed from the whole thing and then removed from the group chat, like, they're not they don't want to fire you because they probably don't have cause to fire you. They just want you to go away.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, they have no reason to fire you, and so you're not fired. If they need you, they'll put you on the schedule. But to remove you from the group chat means you can't cover shifts. That's what I don't understand. Like, you know what I mean? People are always calling in sick. You think that they would want you available to cover shifts. So
yeah,
I feel like you are fired.
So to me, it sounds like you are, like, they're trying to like slowly just get rid of you, it sounds like, and
make it so that you go find another job is what, because you're not getting enough
like money. Obviously if they don't put you on the schedule multiple times, then you're gonna need to go work somewhere else, and so that's probably just their hope. My disappointment is obviously in the business owner here for not being, or the manager, like, not being communicative, because this is just really immature, like to remove someone from a group chat,
Yeah.
to not put them on the schedule if like really you just don't need them, or you have a reason that you don't want them to be on the schedule anymore. So I would reach out personally and say, hey, I was removed from the group chat. Like, does that mean that I'm not going to be able to cover shifts anymore for people?
Yeah.
You know, I see I'm not on the schedule, but like how will people, you know, reach out to me if they can't make it, etc.? What are my kind of next steps around that?
And if you have any allies, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you have any allies still in there, like I would ask them to let you know if they hire someone else, because then it's
official.
Well, then it's like you might have something to take to like a board if you wanted to. You know what I mean? Because like you can lay people off due to lack of hours, but then they have to be the first people you bring back. You can't just hire someone new if you haven't like fired someone officially, you know, terminated their employment.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So I would be direct, and hopefully they will give you an answer back, because I just hate the culture of, it's like the ghost culture has like permeated into the working world. You know, like I also think it's really immature clearly to do that, like in relationships and things like that. Like, just tell the person if you don't want to talk to them, or if you're done with this relationship. Like, why do we just go silent? Like, it's just really inappropriate to do in a work setting too. So like, make them give you the direct answer of what's going on.
Like, if there's an issue with your work and that's why you're not getting any hours, make them tell you that.
All right. Next story. This one's kind of sad.
Oh no.
My coworker shared her screen, accidentally showing chats between her and others, disparaging me. We were in a Teams meeting and I was assisting, and she was sharing a document on her screen. She accidentally showed her chat window where she and another lady were chatting about how I have a very thick accent and my English is broken. I have been in the United States for 24 years. I graduated from a top level university with a dual master's degree. I am by no means perfect, but I can't do anything about my accent. I wish I wouldn't have ever seen the chat. I actually really liked this lady, and she is nothing but sweet to me when we talk on the phone. I don't even plan on acknowledging that I saw the chat. I guess I'm just sad. My job is super stressful and difficult, and I'm doing the best I can. I think this is just kind of a vent, but if we have any advice you can offer.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say anything either, because like people are just mean sometimes, you know? Like, they're just being mean.
And like there's no reason for it. And it's gossip, you know, like to be chatting with someone in a private chat about someone else on the team is just, and then they see, it's just really sad. So
it's like, you could maybe go to leadership, but it's like, what?
For what?
And then leadership's gonna have like a all teams meet, like, okay, we can't, you know, and then it's gonna be, personally, I would just chalk it up to like, oh, thank you for showing me your true colors. I will no longer be wasting my time investing in our relationship. You know?
Yeah. Just probably, you know, work with this person, but arm's length, because they're clearly shallow enough to judge you on your accent. Like, which it sounds like you obviously speak at least two languages, and this person probably doesn't. So they're just jealous. So.
People are so mean sometimes too. It's like,
so
why?
Mean. Okay. I have two, but I'll pick one and we can. Do you want a really bad one, or one that we can maybe be helpful?
I want both of them. I guess you can save that one for the next week. A really bad one.
Oh, really bad one. Okay. My boss called me the R word today. Not quite sure how to process it.
Stop.
Yeah. So I'm going to shorten this a little bit, but our hours are 8:45 to 5, but I frequently find myself staying till 6 or later without any comment from the boss. At 9 a.m., we have the morning brief where we discuss to the administrators what we will be working on for the day. I frequently turn up closer to this time, usually around 8:55, as nobody starts working until after this meeting anyways. So technically their hours are 8:45 to 5, but this person's showing up at like 8:55. So that is the issue that their boss is having.
Okay.
So nobody starts working until after that meeting, and then I more than make up for my time in the evenings. This has been fine for the past 6 months, but this morning my boss asked me to come into his office after the meeting and proceeds to scream at me at the top of his lungs about how grateful I should be that I have this job and that I'm an effing R word for putting myself in a position for dismissal by turning up 5 minutes late. Wow.
I would be going to HR if you
So
have
this
one.
is a very inappropriate.
Yeah.
You what?
I'd be going to HR if you have one.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be going to HR. Like, this is a very inappropriate way to deal with their potentially
like almost like
appropriate feedback.
Right. Like they're not wrong to say, hey, like expectation is you're at your desk by 8:45 so you can review for the 9 a.m. meeting. That's what we expect. And then I'd be like, okay, cool. And then I'll leave at 5 on the dot. Like, you know?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why do people have to police people's minutes is beyond me. Like, I can't, but anyway.
Yeah. So it's a very inappropriate way to handle something that could have just been
literally
appropriate expectations that they give you, right? So I would definitely be going to HR. If there is no HR, I would be communicating directly that, like, hey, I totally hear that
feedback.
It's very important for you that I come in by 8:45. I was under the impression that it was okay that I stayed later to make up for that time, since there's not much I can get done in those 15 minutes prior to the meeting, but I will adjust my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's really inappropriate for you to call me names outside of my name.
Yeah.
And I would appreciate if you don't do that again.
Yeah. That's like a really polite way of saying that. Like, more polite than I would be able to be.
Nice. You have to take a deep breath and then try to say that, okay? Because yelling back or, it's not going to go well for you. So I think you have to somehow convey that you are the bigger person here by communicating that you hear that, like, the expectation is actually very valid. I will adjust my schedule.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be staying late anymore.
Yeah.
Fine. But it's inappropriate for you to yell at me. Like, I'm not a child. And also, we don't say the R word. So
no.
I have noticed that I've heard people saying that word recently. And I'm like, did people not get the memo that that's not a word that we use?
Like, please don't cancel us, listen, but like, that's a word that like was very common when I was growing up. You know what I mean? Like, it was used a lot.
Yes.
And it's very much like a know better, do better situation.
Yes.
Like, it was never okay. It was never okay. But it was like, I thought we had eradicated it from our vocabulary. I thought we had realized, like, oh my gosh, we're being ableist and horrible people, and we're never using that word again. So, like, the fact that it's having a resurgence makes me want to punch a wall. Because
I know, me too. I'm like, I feel like I hadn't heard it in years. And then all of a sudden, I feel like this past year, I've heard like multiple people say it that I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah. like pardon? Like,
have you lived under a rock? Like, we don't say that word.
Yeah.
So,
like, just say, like, not that we ever want to call people, like, just there's no need. There's no need. No. I can't honestly.
There's no need.
It's just it's wild to me that it was ever normal to say, like, and expected, and people wouldn't blink an eye at hearing it. And now,
right.
And then I feel like there were I remember like social media campaigns, like, to stop using the word. Like, people were sharing lots.
Really?
There was things to stop using the word because. But I understand too, like, language evolves. Like, language isn't like, we say things that, I'm learning are not, like, we're always learning. Like, hey, the root of this word is this. So we're not going to use that anymore. Like, I don't use the word crazy. I don't say, oh my God, that's crazy anymore. I say, like, oh my God, that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
expressions like, oh, the peanut gallery, like it's rooted in racism. Or oh, I'm feeling really gypped. Like that's rooted in racism. Like, so we don't say those words. Blindsided, those things. Like we just don't say these things anymore. And I know that this is like, we're learning as we go, but like once you learn something like that, like how can you ever say it like say it again without catching yourself and be like, oh my gosh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I'm gonna try to remove it from my vocabulary. I cannot get the word like out of my vocabulary, but I have gotten a lot of those other words out of my vocabulary.
Need a replacement. That's why, like with crazy, you can use wild. Yeah. What do you use for like?
It's
you're supposed to just remove it, but
yeah, because it's so a word hard. I use when I'm thinking. So I guess silence is the answer.
Yeah, you can use silence.
Yeah, even just then when I was trying not to say it, I had to really stop and think. Don't say like. I used to get in so much trouble as a kid for how often I said that word. My dad was. Like it was bad.
And you still say it even after like him trying to beat it out of you all these years. Wow.
Yeah. I'm a Valley girl. I grew up in 2000s, okay? Like
Valley girls.
Late 90s, early 2000s, like you're never gonna, that's just it's in my DNA.
There's no hope. Yeah, there's no hope for us.
That's hot. Like I grew up on Paris Hilton, right?
Well,
yeah.
That's a wrap. That's hot.
Yeah, good luck. That's horrific.
All I got.
I can't imagine being called that. Although I have been called things like the C word, so I actually can't imagine being called that by an angry older man. So woman. Don't get me. I'm not like. I just happen to have only been called horrific names by older men. I'm sure one day an older woman will call me a horrible name too.
We should just stop calling people names. Like what in the world? Like. Why is your boss name calling you? Like if my no, I don't want anyone to name call me, but especially in like a professional setting where like I'm supposed to be able to look up to you and you're my leader.
Yeah.
Like,
wild.
No. Yeah. Like my husband can't name call me. You can't name call me. Like my friends don't name call me. No. Yeah, so regardless of like using the fact that like the R word is just socially and culturally an inappropriate word to use, like the fact that they called you anything,
like even saying like
completely
you're dumb
inappropriate.
Would
I don't
be
want
inappropriate.
That to be lost on this conversation. Like they shouldn't be calling you any names, but in case anyone else has missed the memo, we don't use that word anymore because maybe there are people listening who are like, oh, I didn't know that like we don't use that word anymore. Yeah. We don't use that word anymore.
No.
So.
Yeah.
And by we, I mean the collective we as
society.
Humans.
Yeah.
Are not using that word anymore. It's not up for debate.
Yeah. We got really feisty on this episode.
Don't tell me why you need to hold on to using that word and defend it.
You don't.
No.
There's no, you can just.
It's not.
Because there's not even a case where you need to be calling someone anyone anything. So there's no the only acceptable time I want to hear that word is when my children are speaking French because it's a French word that means slow. Like the car is moving slow.
There you go.
Like that's it. Or late. Slow or late. They're going to correct me for that.
Okay. We'll ask them.
I think it's late, actually. But anyway, it's a French word, so they can use it when they're speaking French. Okay? That's it. In its proper context.
What's the French word for, is it seal?
Fouk. Or fuck. French word for seal. I will put an explicit on this one, though, because I already said shithead, or something like that. So.
All right.
Sorry, listeners.
Well, that's a wrap. We will see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.